mine enemies. Thou anointest mine head with oil, my cup runneth over.
Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
The word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we give you thanks for your holy presence in our midst. I pray this day that your words would echo through these words that I bring. Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, for you are our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. I had a fun little story to start out with. It's an old preacher tale. I'm fond of old preacher tales. It goes that the boss of a large company was having trouble with his computer, and he needed to talk with his computer specialist over the weekend. And he called up the house, and he dialed the number, and he was greeted by a child's voice. And he asked the child, "Is your daddy here?" And the little child said, "Yes." And then he said, "May I speak to him?" And the little child said, "No." So he said, "Well, is your mama there?" And the little child whispered, "Yes." And he said, "Well, may I speak to them?" Her. And he said, "No." And he said, "Well, there must be somebody with you. May I speak to whoever is with you?" He says, "Is anybody else there with you besides your mom and dad?" He said, "Yes, the policeman." Now he's wondering what's going on there. And then he hears a sound which sounded much like a helicopter. And he said, "Is that a helicopter I hear?" He said, "Yes." He said, "What's the helicopter do?" He says, "They're landing the search team." And he said, "Well, who are they looking for?" And at that, the little boy giggled and said, "They're looking for me." If there's one thing that we proclaim as Christians, it is that lost things, lost people, lost hearts matter to God. Today I want to be thinking about this metaphor of what it means to claim Jesus as the Good Shepherd, as the Lord of our life. And if you look at the feeling behind those stories, behind the words of the psalm, and indeed all of Scripture, you discover that there is this divine longing that God's people would be in relationship with God. The more I think about God, the more I'm aware that God marshals every avenue possible in order that we might come home to Him. Have you ever thought about how when you are most lost, God is seeking you and wanting to draw you home to Him? When the boys were little, I'm all excited about being a new grandma. And up on Facebook, my son posted a picture of the other grandma, Grandpa Doug, watching the little baby. And the little baby is asleep, and Grandpa Doug is asleep also. And I remember many nights when we would try to put our little ones to sleep. And I learned a lot as I went along. You know, if you really want your little one to go to sleep in the middle of the night, you go with this monotone voice, and you just drone on and on with this story. Well, I didn't know that at first, so I would tell these Bible stories with great drama in them, you know, and we would make the storm when the storm was coming, when the shepherd would count the sheep in the rain and the thunder and lightning, and then we would say how the shepherd looked high and high low, and then he searched until all hope was nearly gone. I might break into poetry. Then by light of breaking dawn, he found the lamb caught up in a craggy place up near the sky. And we went on and on about how happy the shepherd was to find this little sheep. And in the middle of it, Joel, who was in for, he said, "Mama, wait a minute. Was the shepherd out there in that rainstorm?" And he said, "Where was his mother?" And was he cold and was he wet? And so I imagined the story that yes, he was cold and wet, but that I'm sure when we got home that his mom would have gotten him a cup of warm tea and wrapped him all up. And maybe midnight in his bed. What was interesting to me is that Joel's focus was on the shepherd and on the needs and the wants and the desires of the shepherd, the pain and the joy of the shepherd. And I remember how many times that I have read these stories, and I've not only focused on how God is feeling in the midst of these stories. I mostly imagine myself being lost and groping in the dark, caught in the brambles, not knowing who I am. But what would it mean if we would focus on the desire of the shepherd this day? The desire of the shepherd for each children on this planet to know the depths of God's amazing love. I'm kind of speaking out of turn when I speak about shepherding. I've not had much experience doing it in the actual. Some of you I know have raised sheep before. We did have one sheep once. Her name was Noah, and she was our farm barn guest. At camp we had a little farm barn, and the sheep stayed in the bottom of the barn, and the children slept in the loft. And we loved Noah. She was a beautiful sheep, but we had a shepherd above us, Billy Cox, who really took care of the shepherd. We just pretended to be shepherds. She was gentle. She was lovely. I did learn a lot more about goats. We had 3 goats. Their names were Raven and Midnight and Mama Goat. And they were always into trouble. They were always going where they shouldn't go. The steps of this farm barn were very attractive to them, but it had a one-way gate. So if you were a goat and you made it up the steps, you couldn't get out. And there's no telling what havoc a goat can wreak if they are left up there about a half a day without supervision. They would nibble on those mattresses and they would trash that floor in all sorts of ways. Well, one day I found Raven and Midnight up on top of our carport shed. I don't know how they got up there. They had escaped from the farm barn, and I hollered up to them and said, "It's simply not safe up there, you know." And they would back down at me. And I'll always remember the day that Raven followed us up. We had a little Boy Scout at camp, well, a big Boy Scout. He was working on his Eagle Scout project, building a bridge. And Raven decided she was going to go up with us, up that trail. Only thing was, she didn't like bridges, and there were several bridges to get up to where we were going to build this final bridge. So she would be on those slippery rocks, and I felt so inadequate as a goat shepherd because I couldn't get her to go on the path. And then, of course, you never lived until you tried to preach over a bunch of goats. Mama Goat decided she would come down to worship one day. She followed the little farm barn campers down to worship, and all through the sermon they were saying, "Man," y'all try it, "Man." And she had the most sincere Christian goat look on her face. I did have the privilege of meeting real shepherds. The picture that I showed, Alexander Grace, she was this wonderful shepherd in Kingsway, England. She was married to David. David was not only the shepherd of his farm. In a real sense, he was the shepherd of the village. And he loved the people, and he was there for them through thick and thin. He had a generous heart, a heart that broke for his workers and for the town if they were in need. And he had this beautiful face. He could sing. He couldn't read a note of music, but he had this beautiful voice that could sing, and he sang his faith. And I remember the story about the time someone in the village was going through a hard time. As a man who had this farmer. This farmer had this cow, and he thought the only way he could make it through the hard time was to sell his beloved cow to David. And David bought it, but then he knew how much it hurt this man to part with his cow, so he bought it, and he said, "You know, James, I'm going to need someone to take care of this cow. Will you take care of it for me?" He wanted to see from the great shepherd what it means to have a shepherd's heart. What it means to know that every person in the community is claimed as part of God's flock. And we, as the ones who gathered here, are charged with bringing that love and care to everyone he meets. Our gospel lesson this morning from the book of John is an interesting one. It's a passage that weaves together so many themes of sheep and doorway and shepherds and thieves and the offer of abundant life. Jesus says that he's the good shepherd, and in a nutshell what he's saying is that God's people are the sheep, and Jesus is the shepherd, and he's the one who calls us by name, and he expects us to follow. He's the one who leads us to life that is best, life that is abundant and full. And if we follow other voices, the voices of imposters, we will nibble ourselves away into dangerous land. We'll discover that our lives are deadened and torn and destroyed and robbed of joy. But the good shepherd is the one who can lead us home. The good shepherd is the one who longs for you and for me to be made whole. I love that bit about the shepherd voice, how the sheep hearing the shepherd's voice and knowing it. Story is told of an American tourist who went one day traveling in the Middle East and came across several shepherds. There were 3 shepherds, and all their sheep were down in the water. They were all mixed together, mingling, drinking from the water. And the first shepherd was able to call, and his sheep went with him. And the second shepherd was able to call, and his sheep went with him. So the tourist said, well, I want to try that. And he asked the third shepherd if he could put on his garb, his cloak, and his headpiece, and see if he could call him out. Well, of course, you know how the story goes. None of the sheep followed. And he asked this question of the third shepherd. He said, will the sheep ever follow if their shepherd doesn't call? And he said, well, they will. If they are sick, they'll follow anymore. And I wonder this morning if we sometimes tend to follow the wrong voices when we're hurting within our souls. The sheep hear his voice, and Jesus talks about himself being the gate for the sheep. And maybe you know that in the pens that were in Jesus' time, they would be 3-sided pen structures made out of rock. And the shepherd themselves would sleep in the opening. In other words, no one could get in or out without meeting the shepherd first. And isn't that the image of Jesus, what he does for us? He is there for us in the good times and the hard times. And he wants to gather us in. In the Gospel of John, this passage comes not where you would expect. It doesn't come with Jesus sitting on the top of a beautiful hillside and preaching these words. It comes in the midst of intense conflict. Conflict because Jesus has been including the people that the other people don't think he should include. Conflict because he has been saying hard words like you gotta love your enemies. And conflict because he's been confronting false images of who God is. And the authorities are plotting to kill him. In the chapter right before this, he's healed a blind man. And the authorities have pounced on the man, and they've cast him out of the synagogue. They're so blind, and Jesus says, these false leaders are like the false shepherds in the book of Ezekiel who have led the flock away. And then in the midst of that, he says, I am the good shepherd. I want you to know the depths of my love. So what does it mean for the Lord to be our shepherd? What does it mean to not only know the 23rd Psalm, but to live it and to find the heart of the shepherd in the midst of those words? I think it first of all has to do with how we image the shepherd. Flora Woolner, who's written a lot of books about finding healing within our souls, and particularly in the hardest of times, she says that she was grateful that when she was little, her parents didn't have the normal picture of Jesus as the shepherd in her room. I don't know if you remember, a lot of times you'll see Jesus as a shepherd, and his robes are bright and pristine, and the lamb is a perfect little lamb. But she says in her room, her mama had placed a picture of a shepherd whose clothes were torn and dirty, and his arms were straight, and he's on a our land, and above the land there's a bird that's circling over, but the lamb is looking up, and he is stretching. It's that kind of shepherd that we find in the midst of these ancient words. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. I read a book a while ago called The Shepherd Looks at the 23rd Psalm, written by Philip Keller. And he says for sheep to lie down in green pastures, there have to be 4 things. They have to be free from fear, free from friction in the flock, free from pests, and free from fear. In other words, they need to be free from tensions and aggravations. They need to be free to be fed, something that only the shepherd can lead them to. To claim Jesus as our shepherd means claiming these kinds of freedoms. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. I learned that sheep are about 70% water, made up of water. And they need daily water if they're going to survive. And a lot of times the shepherd would lead the sheep to where they could drink the dew from the grass. Or sometimes he would lead them down to a creek, he or she would lead them down to a creek, and they had to find one that was freely flowing and not in the flood stage. So I wonder this morning, church, are we letting the Christ quench our thirst? Or are we turning to other things? Are we finding time in the morning or in the evening to let the dew from heaven quench our thirsty souls? He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. I read that in the ancient days, and I think even now, if you were a shepherd with a sheep, you always had to count your sheep. And you always had to make sure that they didn't become what you call a cast sheep. And that's where a sheep will lie down in a depression in the ground, and the center of gravity shifts so that they're no longer able for their feet to right themselves. And they start to paw and they roll over, and their circulation is cut off. And so the good shepherd has to find out where the sheep are cast, where they're unable to right themselves again. And they go and talk with them and they lift them up. Sometimes they become cast sheep because they got too much wool, or they become too comfortable, or they become too fat. And I think there are times in our lives, church, when we are like cast sheep, and yet we have a shepherd who will spare no cost to find us and set us on our feet again. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. I love the words, he leadeth me. You know, when you're driving cows, I think you're driving from behind you. But when you're leading sheep, you lead them from the front. And if you don't lead them, they tend to go on the same trails that they've been before. And they nibble those same trails until the ground becomes worthless, until it becomes dusty. I love the words that were read from the book of Philippians, where Paul, like a gentle shepherd, is saying to the church, he's calling for unity and he's calling for humility. He's calling for them to let go of worry, to let Christ displace worry at the center of their souls. And right before he shared the words, he penned the words that were read this morning. He has that beautiful passage in chapter 3 where he says, "This one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind, I press on towards the goal of God in Christ." I think to let the Lord be our shepherd is to let God press on. And that means that God will lead us to new places and new visions of what it means to be God's church. And then those words, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." we always have fun looking for pictures on the front of the bulletin. And we usually print line drawings. But I found a lot of pictures that I wish that I could have drawn. And one for this part of the song had this little tiny kitten marching her way through this pathway where there were these giant German shepherds on either side. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Why? Because, what does it say, church? Because thou art with me. It's a wonderful thing, this moment in the psalm. Up to this point, the psalmist has been talking in the third person, using third person pronouns. But at this point, it shifts to using the word thou. He starts talking in the second person. And the scholars, you can't catch this in the English version, but if you look at it in the original text, the word thou is right in the middle. There are precisely 26 words before it and 26 words after it. And I think the psalmist, even this poet, as they're writing this psalm, is saying that the reason that we can make it through the hardest of things is because we have one who promises never to leave us or forsake us. This one who promises that nothing can separate us from God's love. This one who promises to be with us. Leonard Sweet notes that there are two key words in this part of the song. And they're the words though and the words through. And the only difference is the letter R. And he says that in the days of the early church, the early Christians would make the sign of the cross by holding up what in our sign language is the letter R. And he says that when we let Jesus hold on to us, he helps us find our way through it all. Though we are facing this layoff, though we are facing challenges at home or work, though we have had bad news about our health, though our child is hurting, Christ is with us. Remember how the old song goes, through it all. Through it all, I've learned to trust in Jesus. I've learned to trust in God. And you see that same kind of heartfelt trust in Paul's words in Philippians. He's not going to settle for second best, and he knows that come what may, Christ will be with us through it all. I like how the Message puts the passage that we read from the New Revised Standard. It says, let petitions and praises shape your worries into prayers. Before you know it, a sense of God's wholeness, everything coming to good will come and settle you down. It's wonderful what happens when Christ displaces worry at the center of your life. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. I learned that the shepherd usually had two pieces of equipment. The rod was what they would use. You had to pass under the rod if you were going to go into the pen. And the shepherd would take that rod and kind of part the wool to make sure that the sheep wasn't hurt in any way. He would also use the rod to make sure they'd stay in line a little bit. To say that Jesus is our shepherd means we know that we're not going to pull the wool over Jesus' eyes. Passing under the rod is what the sheep had to do, but he also used the staff. He or she, as a shepherd, would use the staff to hook you in if you were going astray, or to tap you gently, so that they would tap the sheep with their staff, just to let them know that they were with them all the way. The staff could be used to pull us out of thorn bushes, or to help us find our way. And then those words, thou preparest the table before me. And the table was often referred to as the high, flat mesas. The shepherd would go before the flock and might make sure that the poisonous weeds were clear, that the predators were found and chased away. And church, when you think about it, Christ has gone before us to prepare our table. And then that bit about enemies. that prepares the table before me in the presence of my enemies. In the old days, if you were being chased by your enemies, if you would make it to the tent of your protector, you suddenly had sanctuary. The enemies could stand outside and glare, but once you reached that tent, you were welcome in, and the enemies could not come in. To let Christ be the shepherd of our hearts is to let Christ help us be more than conquerors in whatever we are facing. Now, anoint my head with oil. Oil was used for medicine. It was also to make sure that the sheep wouldn't bump heads. They put the oil on their heads, and when they would bump, they would just slide off one another. Sometimes we find ourselves bumping heads, but Christ can bring us clean. And then the psalm ends with, say it with you, church, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Pastor Cato says he likes to picture surely and goodness as being the little sheepdog that follow him everywhere we go. You need a both. Not goodness alone, for we are sinners in need of mercy. Not mercy alone, for we are fragile in need of God's grace. In the end, I think there are many times where we find it hard to let the Lord be our shepherd. Sometimes we wander off. Sometimes we nibble our way lost. Sometimes we butt heads and get our feet caught in the branches. But the good news is that the good shepherd keeps looking for us, keeps seeking, and he leaves the 99 for the one that is lost. And he doesn't give up, even if it costs him everything that he has. He wants to carry us home. In the end, we have a choice. Will we listen to the Good Shepherd? Will we let him be the shepherd of our lives? Will we hear his voice? Will we let him hold us with his nail-pierced hands? Will we bring him great joy? Let us pray. Our prayer today is a meditation of sorts. Don't know where you are this morning. Maybe you feel like a shepherd, looking and searching for the lost. Or maybe you are more like the lost man. You feel lost and alone and a storm is blowing in. You're alone and afraid, too tired to cry out. But then you hear footsteps. And they are slow at first, but now they're running so fast. Without caution, and you see a kind face you thought you'd lost forever. You were so cold, but he gathers you into his arms. You were trembling in the storm. But now your body can relax. He shouts his thanks and holds you, loves you, and shelters you from the storm. And you look into his eyes and see not the rejection you come to expect from the rest of the world, but instead you see love and joy that simply catch you off guard. Oh God, we pray that that kind of love will flow through us. Let it heal our broken places. We thank you that Christ's shoulders are big enough to weather our deepest storms. We give you thanks because we know that you will carry us home. And what joy will break loose. What amazing, confounding joy. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Through it all, I've learned to trust in Jesus. I've learned to trust in God. Through it all, I've learned to depend upon God's word. As our response, let us sing this word.